everybody. I'm Perry. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. Sorry. Hello, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
So, Scott, what would you like to share with us today?
Well, it depends on where you think your audience wants to go and what they want to know.
They all want to know the truth, Scott.
Okay, if they want to know the truth, they cannot be operating in terror, in fear, and in negativity, because it will blind them and misdirect them to anything that has to do with real hidden truth or its recovery. As simple as that. The hue or the primordial sound current behind all life that I often share when I do these shows or in person with people or in seminars and conferences around the world and radio shows can only connect to that which is what's called pure positive. It can only connect to that which is of an uplifting, creative, beneficial value or benefit. It cannot be mixed up with negativity and fear and terror and doubt and theory and speculation and debate and gossip or any of those negative things. It will not dance with them, let's put it that way. Some people, when they get in fear, they want to attack something to try to justify their position on this planet or to try to keep what they think is being threatened. And when they go in a dark direction by trying to shed a negative light on other people who are innocent of their claims, they are really saying to people, look out, because this is what they are. They're the ones throwing stones, not me. I hope that's pretty clear, because every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. And what they're doing will knock them down eventually, but not by my hand. It's important. The reason I don't worry about or have any fear about the future for myself or the destiny of this planet is because of what I know. I only share what I know to be true from direct experience. I don't deal in faith or belief at all, only with what I know. And then I only share it for the benefit of all life. And that's for all life, and not just all life on Earth, all life everywhere. It's important to know there's a distinction in what I do. As you know, when I do these sessions like this, or when I do individual sessions where friends from out of town, kind, benevolent, mostly human beings from other worlds help to remove what are called subconscious programs from people, I don't actually remove them. And I don't charge money ever for any of this. No monetary system on or off this planet is involved in this part of my work. And that is a distinction from other people as well, from most people anyway. I sell books because one is published through a New York publisher, the other one's published through my company, and they're expensive to publish and promote. So I do sell those. But this work, this spiritual work, this benefit for all life thing, and the hue, and the new ray in the hue, there's no monetary system involved in that. So I hope that's clear to everybody that's listening.
Yes. And can you start with the hue from
I can.
Okay.
When I'm doing the hue, it actually opens a door in the pineal gland in the center of the brain, in human brains anyway. And it does so in a way that connects to an omnipresent, living, conscious force of which we're all comprised as beings, not the body, as beings. And it connects us to that source from which we all originate, right while we're here on Earth. And it's a pure telepathic connection. It is not a psychic connection. It is something called pure telepathy. Exists in creation before time and space was created as a failsafe. It opens the heart, it opens the consciousness, and it sets up the conditions for a person to begin to remember all that they used to know before they were born on this planet, with little or no memory of how they got here, who they are as a Atma, what beings from other worlds call soul, and what their real co-creative destiny with the source is, because they have one. They've just been made to forget it. So that should be of some help to people who first hear it, because somewhere in the back of their consciousness, they remember this stuff. Even though they've been made to forget it. It's not destroyed. It's just suppressed. On Earth, they call it a subconscious mind. But that's an artificially created energy field that surrounds each being, on Earth in particular. The Atma or soul is spherical in shape in nature, not like these bodies. And that Atma runs these lower molecular body constructions. And the hue that comprises us and the omnipresent force that sustains all creation through all the multidimensional universe is something that human beings, which is the first two letters of the word human, actually, because human beings did not originate on this planet, ever. They were brought here at one time or another in over 50 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. And there's a missing history in people's lives on this planet. And there's a missing history of their lives lived out among the stars and in other higher dimensions that they don't remember. I work a lot with what's called out-of-body travel and bilocation. Bilocation meaning that you're aware of your body here. It's in a trance state, the same as you put it in at night when it's asleep. Pineal gland will secrete melatonin and serotonin. It creates chemicals which keep the body alive and breathing and everything working fine while you, the being, are out exploring the nature of yourself in the multidimensional universe. People on Earth from birth are never trained in how to bring back full awareness of this. So they think of it as dreams or fantasy. And they place no real credibility to it because they haven't been taught that it has any. This is the way tyrants work to suppress people. They compel them to forget who they are as a being, not a body. And they stuff them in bodies, like on Earth, and compel them to reincarnate here over and over again with little or no memory of what came before. People chalk this up because they don't know anything and don't remember. They say it's God's will. It isn't.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing natural or normal about that, although people think it's normal. Something else that's really important in my work is that all negative thoughts and feelings are artificially created states. Fear, doubt, terror, speculation, theory, wonder, anything that has to do with I don't know, are negatively created emotional states. Not real human emotions at all, and they're implanted in people on a subconscious level with terrorizing death and destruction types of things, so that if a person tries to remember who they are and what they knew before they found themselves on this planet, this terror you won't see or hear it. It's very clever, but you'll feel it. And naturally, the fear will affect your nervous system and people will run away in the wrong direction, away from recovering who they are, and remain unconscious on this planet till the day they pass away. Many people are met after they leave this body by who they consider to be higher beings who compel them in a nice way to come back to this earth and reincarnate here with no memory, and that this is God's will. It isn't. It's orchestrated by tyrants they don't even know. And they're not even native to this planet. So this goes back a long way in Earth and galactic history. Both histories have been occluded from people on Earth for the most part. They no longer know it. So they have theory to work with only. My work deals with something called direct knowing perception. And that means looking into the universe beyond the use of just your physical eyes. It's a very limited scope of perception that they have. And looking at the universe from the spherical nature that you are, and perceiving the multidimensional universe, what's in it, communicating with other beings telepathically, and being able to retain full awareness of this, even while the body's in a chair, say, sitting like we are now, going into the hue, and then perhaps going to some location somewhere, like a parallel dimension on Earth or another planet, or a higher dimension, or aboard a Galactic Alliance ship, stationed in the ice rings of Saturn, where it still is to this day. I make no bones about this. I spill the beans on this quite wide openly worldwide, never hidden it. What matters most to other people is waking up their ability to know it for themselves. What I share with people, like on this little show or anywhere in the past on radio shows or at conferences, is the truth from my direct experiences. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't expect people to take my word for it on face value. But what I do expect is those people who are a bit more courageous will work with the techniques I share in the books and on these shows, and they'll begin to get the help they need to begin to remember what they've been made to forget. Most people know there's something not right on this planet, that they used to know something a lot more than they know now. Almost everybody I meet knows this, but they don't know how to access it. And they're terrorized of trying. So the first thing that we have to do, myself and associates from off planet, is to get people to give up fear and using their imagination to indulge in seeing fear for themselves, their destiny, or the future of this planet. First thing. Once that's done and they drop their fists and stop fighting all the imagined evil foes, and there are some out there, but they're being contained in no uncertain terms, then they can begin to awaken here on this planet and help to make a change here, to transform it. They become conscious co-creators with the source as they were always meant to be, right here on Earth. These words make sense to people who have open eyes and ears to hear and see. It's got nothing to do with tall whites or grays or reptilians or even human. It has to do with the Atma or soul, what we are, that isn't any of those things. And how to wake that up, how to move it around the universe, how to get in and out of bodies like we're supposed to be able to do. Like millions, even billions of human beings and humanoid beings in other worlds do right now. They're born into that kind of society. It's not like Earth at all. One of the first things I try to do is get people to be thinking and imagining off planet. Just get off this rock for a little bit and open the consciousness to see more of what is in the grand multidimensional universe, what is in your own past that you've been made to forget, and what your real destiny in the future is. This is the whole basis for my work, and this is the reason I do it. I'm not motivated by the baubles on this planet of power and money or things. That's not my purpose for being on this world. It's not why I came here. I came here to carry out a mission, and I'm carrying out that mission. Actually, I came here more than 60 years ago to start it then, and that mission was intercepted. That's all changed now. The mission remains the same. Only now we have the tools and the consciousness of massive hosts of beings off planet to transform or change this world, because people on Earth do not have the free will they think they have. They live 80 years, maybe, if they're lucky. They don't remember how they got here. There's disease on the planet. People have to pay taxes and answer to governments that lie to them, usually to protect their own interests, because they're in fear. I never attack political figures on this planet or alien races that are tyrant, because I happen to know they're being dealt with in a kind way. Their tyrant natures, which were subconsciously implanted in them, are also being neutralized. So they don't come back to this planet and do this same nonsense again. If it can't be solved off-world, out among the stars, it can never be solved on this planet permanently. So what's underway now cannot be reversed by any negative power, beings negative in or out of bodies, or misuse of extraterrestrial technology on or off planet. There are beings on this world and classified people who already know this to be true, that there are things happening in this solar system now that their equipment, their technology, their association with tyrant beings cannot affect or change or alter in any way. They've tried. What's underway isn't meant for their harm. It's actually meant for their liberation as well as everyone else on Earth. Everybody's in this together, no exceptions. People that are full of anger and hate and revenge want to do something revengeful to either leaders on this world or tyrant races out among the stars. They want to have something to fight with, and that traps them every single time. As soon as a person puts up their fist to fight some foe, past or present, they're using their imagination, a great power, to look into the universe and see something fearful and negative, destructive, and thereby they begin to co-create it. And negative beings and technologies know that. So it really helps a person not to think or imagine in negative ways at all. It helps to set them free, raises their vibration rate, and they begin to remember. And they begin to get assistance from friends from out of town that don't have subconscious minds, that are telepathic, that have photographic memories, that live 1,000 years or more. They're not vulnerable to tyrant races or technologies, and they are here. What's beginning here cannot be reversed. Fortunately for all of us who must still live on this planet, what I can tell you as a fact, in the last many years during the Cold War with the former Soviet Union, we would have all gone up in nuclear war many times, and it was prevented. Don't worry about nuclear war. That's not going to happen here. Not because of what people on Earth will do, but because of what people from other worlds will stop it. Not by interfering in things here necessarily, by shutting down launch computers and saying, look, do whatever you want, but not that. Because that would negatively affect beings in other worlds and other parallel dimensions and other realities that the people on Earth don't have the right to do. That's pretty clear. So here's this vibration, this hue, that people on Earth once knew, and knew it well. It sounds like this. When you do it, you'll notice that it sets up a vibration from the head upward only. That's very significant. The that people know about for years, when you go it vibrates this area, throat, chest. The hue only vibrates a particular place in the skull, and then it connects to some place very far from this planet. And beings that use the hue and are telepathic can hear it when you do it. They don't deal in negativity. They don't deal in fear. They don't dominate anyone. They're not in it for power. They're certainly not in it for money. They're in it because it's the right thing to do. They have a responsibility now they're awake to help turn this planet around. For the first time in galactic history, which began just a little over 7 Earth years ago. And that makes all the difference. I suppose a lot of the people that I've met at past conferences and on radio shows wondered if I was really sincere about what I was doing. What they didn't know is that I was and that I am. And this is for their benefit, not for any other reason. They'll come to know it. I'm not worried about it.
I was talking to you on the second part, Scott, so we take a break, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome back to the second part, Scott. Please go on.
I think we were talking about something that the 7.5 billion people on this entire planet and the trillions that are out among the stars in our galaxy alone long ago once knew how to co-create with the source behind all life. Now here's the shocker. It isn't something they need to learn how to do in the future. It's something they need to learn how to recover in the present that they once knew. So they can take this experience and training from other wonderful master beings to take it to a whole new creative level with the source behind all life, of which we're all comprised of exactly the same energy on a smaller scale, identical in every way. It cannot be destroyed. It can't be blown up in a hydrogen bomb. Bodies can be destroyed, but not the being, not by any force or power. And it can be made to forget under certain conditions for a time, but it's never permanent. There's beings on this planet, I would wager, have been incarnating here for 500,000 years. Over and over again, they don't remember what they were, what they knew before that process started. That goes back into ancient galactic history. A history tyrants do not want masses of people to recover. What is underway now cannot be stopped. They're going to be recovering it anyway. So you might say to tyrants, this is for your benefit as well, because you're going to be remembering as well. It's not about revenge. It's about cleaning up this experiment we call evil and retiring it like the dinosaur. Now, if this is underway off-world, which it is, hundreds of millions of world systems, this planet is going to get in line. If it wants to play among the stars, then people on Earth have to realize, which they already do, that space is already occupied by far more advanced races. What this means is they're not going to be taking their nuclear-powered radioactive ships out among the stars like they show in Star Trek, 2,000 years in the future. They're not going to be taking their weapons and they're planting their greedy flags on other worlds to mine resources and that kind of an idea. Will not fly amongst the races that are out there. So people on Earth right now are quarantined within this solar system. They'll be allowed to leave and join a whole bunch of wonderful beings once this planet has a benevolent government system and people are told the truth. And that is underway. All I do is just tell people, look out, because you're going to find things happening, waking up to things, new energies, and you're going to have to be prepared for them. That's all this is really about. It's not about taking over anybody's planet. That's old school stuff. Tyrants versus the good guys, fighting it out till one of them loses. Then 100,000 years later, and the bad guys lose. Then the good bad guys win 100,000 years later, and it starts all over again. That kind of thing has been going on for many millions of years, and it is a complete waste of time. I just have to say that beings that are very lofty and elevated, I would say that are very evolved out in the universe and other planes, finally became cognizant of this fact. And they were given tools in order to begin to change this for the first time. Earth just happens to be in the path of that energy field that's moving throughout creation. The Milky Way galaxy is a prototype galaxy for what is underway now. It's also beginning in Andromeda, but it's also taking place on higher dimensional levels as well. It's a big creation. There's 144 parallel dimensions of physical matter worlds in the physical universe itself alone. Beings with advanced technology and spirituality can traverse these 144 levels, all the way up to what people call the lower astral plane. It's a huge place. And the races that are out there trade amongst worlds in all of them. Billions of worlds. Most of them are benevolent. There's a few tyrant spacefaring races that have been thrown in the side of the Galactic Alliance for well over 500,000 years that are, let's just say, escorted home. They're no longer capable of controlling or influencing things here. The direction this planet seems to be heading is that way because of the subconscious programming misuse of science that was done to leaders here without their knowledge or consent, particularly after World War II. That has to be all undone. If we want the world to change without complete annihilation, then it has to involve all beings everywhere. There's no other way. When people hear my words that have any heart about them at all, I don't care what extraterrestrial race they're from, human or otherwise, There's a part of them that knows this to be true because once they did die. It's a little different because now there's another energy in the hue that didn't exist before, that is capable of retiring evil as an experiment while safely going about transforming lives and eventually removing subconscious minds altogether because they shouldn't be in human beings at all. Anything that's subconscious means there's something that can be done there that you're not aware of. So we don't want things to remain subconscious. That's where tyrants work, through the misuse of science. It's all reversible. That's pretty clear, right?
Scott, I think for people to understand this clearly, I would recommend if they can read the series Agenda, your book, because everything is written there, and I find it very good and very informative, you know?
Yeah. I don't know about Asia. It might be hard to get the trade paperback, but you can certainly get the downloaded ebook anywhere on the planet. That's just a digital file. And it has all the illustrations in it. Well, the Emerald Doorway does. That's the other book I've published. The series Agenda is about current times, about how beings have gone through a change off-world recently and how they're viewing Earth from outside the Earth and what they're thinking about and what they're doing here, how they're treating tyrant races and what they're doing to end that without death and destruction. And it's about how that's going about on this planet, hidden behind the scenes for now, but taking place. The Emerald Doorway book, one of the Parallel Time trilogy, is about what happened with extraterrestrials, benevolent and tyrant, 100,000 years ago, before Lemriel was destroyed and the last polar shift took place on this planet, which is cyclic, and would have been already happened again, destroying most life on the surface, if beings I know had not intervened to permanently stop polar flips of this planet, which they have done. So we have a real opportunity to step up to bat and play among the stars. Civilizations have been on this planet for millions of years that have only lasted 100,000 years, and then they've been wiped out. Beings that could leave left, tyrants who left and brought slaves or left them here to die, shut down, genomes shut down, and they procreate here, and end up not knowing anything compulsively. And we end up with all these people on this planet, many, many, many thousands of years later. Still with the idea of worshiping royal families, or a savior, or a supreme being under their feet, but not knowing them, not thinking they can ever have the experience of what they are that's eternal, and what that source is really like. Because that source is far above the lower dimensions people know about. It's far above the physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric. It's above the void known to the Buddhists. It's up in the worlds and planes above that, where there is no positive and negative. The only way a person will ever know that again is to rekindle it, awaken it, or experience it for themselves. And that's what's important to me.
Mm-hmm. Scott, from the beginning of the show, you were talking about removal implants. So if people start reading your books and then they have this desire to remove the implants, what do you recommend?
I am not, as one being, capable of removing individually, one-on-one, 7.5 billion people's implants. No. Mm-hmm. It's practical. There are more than several hundred billion people, advanced, well-trained, that are not from Earth, that know how to deal with this issue. So when people start to work with the hue, and they start to be sincere with it, and they practice the techniques at the back of the Seres Agenda, and they begin to work with it over time, then they start to meet or get connected to some of these beings, and it's their responsibility to deal with the 7.5 billion people here, because there's enough of them to go around to do it. I'm just one being. So my job initially, as you know, with a few people on Earth, was to work with them one-on-one. And there's a very important reason why there's just a few and why they crossed my path. So I'd say it's to their great benefit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
in your own experience, and as you know this, and so do the other people I get on Zoom with like this once a week around the world, there's never any charge or money involved in any of it. whatsoever.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yes, I have to say again, I have great experiences with you and with friends, from far away, like you said.
I don't think your listeners, depending on who they are, don't mean to be insulting in any way.
Mhm.
Some of them are capable, others maybe not so much yet, or I would go on a little guided experience to some other reality, something they should have been able to do from birth. I would say this, that by the time a child is 10 years old on one of these many other worlds, just in 1/4 of our Milky Way galaxy, the people on Earth have been kept from knowing all about, intentionally. By the time they're 10, being that they have a photographic memory and they're telepathic, because all human beings are, what people on Earth call telepathy, call it intuition. It's a vague kind of half-assed understanding of reading another person or hearing another person or understanding clear communication. People get intuition, but that's not telepathy, and it's not reliable. It can swing from the positive to the negative in a second. So I don't work with those energies. I work with the pure telepathy. That's a pure communication through the you between two beings. It does not involve the lower 4 psychic planes at all. Not whatsoever. And this gives me a great freedom to work with people, and it gives people a great freedom to work with me because it's reliable energy, something they come to know for themselves over time. And there's a certain protection that goes along with its use right here on Earth that a person has to experience for themselves to know it's true for themselves. Otherwise, it's just my words. And that's not what I'm interested in, telling people words and nice little stories. It's about helping them to begin to practice and utilize their higher faculties that have been dormant since birth and get them turned back on safely. When I say there's a safety to it, it means that beings they don't yet know are involved in helping them recover in a safe way, even on a planet like this. That's a pretty big statement, but it's also true. So I share this with people based upon my own knowing. I'm not concerned about aliens, reptilians, or grays, or tall whites, or any of them, because I'm not their enemy. I'm not concerned about bad guy humans or tyrant leaders on Earth or out in the stars, because I'm not their enemy. They know that. I'm here to help them as much as every other person, because what they're doing in deceiving the populace and hoarding money, whatever it is they do out of fear, is done because something even more diabolical was done to them than the masses of people without their consent or awareness. There's no such thing as a naturally evil being. They have to be terribly manipulated to act that way. And they're done, usually in the past, in galactic history, it was done to whole races to make them slaves for a tyrant race, to get resources, to make them miners on distant worlds like Earth, under treaty. It's a history people need to remember for themselves. I remember it, I know it. So the best thing I can do is to help other people know it. This is why I do this. That's the only reason I do it.
Mm-hmm. And I just would like to tell everybody who's listening to this, I read Scott's books and then I have my own experiences, which is unbelievable and wonderful experiences, Scott, thank you for bringing me here too.
Yeah, no worries. I want to do this you again because when people begin to work with it, I know they might be terrified at first, or they think there's some hoodwinking or deception going on here. No, that's coming from their subconscious mind, from the programs that are terrorizing in their own, not even to say in their being, but surrounding the being, transparent energy field around their true spherical shape, that they look through to misperceive the world and reality. That can be undone. People know something was done to them quite terrible at some point, somewhere in the past, that brought them to incarnate on this planet with no memory. Everyone knows it. They don't dare admit it because they're afraid of it. So my job is to help them drop the fear. And they do have the power and the ability to do that once they understand what it is that was done to them. Once they're conscious of it, they begin to take charge over it. It's the way the Atma really is. It begins to wake up. And then it has command over any form of lower creation that we call negative. It begins to recover. That's about the best I can put it. So I'm going to do these hues. I'm going to go up 5 tones very softly. They're going to set up a higher vibratory field out to you and all the listeners who will ever watch this video or ever hear it to be a benefit to them. They can choose to work with that or choose to be afraid and stay in fear until they get tired enough of it enough to want to go forward, and then it'll be there for them. That's pretty good. The hue, once again, when we say it with vocal cords or even silently in what you would call your mind, or you imagine the sound, it connects with a primordial sound, the first sound behind all creation that existed before there was any positive and negative, bad guys and good guys. And all of us were there at that beginning. Because we're comprised of exactly the same energy as the source, or what extraterrestrial kind people call prime creator. It's not a tyrant God on a throne. We're meant to co-create new ways of doing things with that source. That's the true purpose of a human being. Pretty lofty, pretty wondrous destiny, once you're aware of it. And it takes precedence over all previous forms of creation, including evil, once it's awake. Pretty cool. Remember that this connects only to beings and things that are of a pure, loving, positive energy. They don't have any negative running their being. There's no subconscious programs misdirecting them. And to them, beings from other worlds, other planes, that's just normal. So I can leave everybody with that. If they get the Series Agenda download as an ebook, they can figure out from reading the chapter references in the back of the techniques. They're supposed to go specific pages and specific paragraphs. But if everybody knows ebooks, they'll change those pages to hundreds more than there are in the book, and the locations will change. So they'll have to hunt. You can go, for instance, to a chapter that's referred to in the back, and then find the right beginning of the paragraph that starts where I asked them to read. They can figure it out. It's a little harder, but it works.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott, for today. So I see you again on Friday. Awaken, Hidden Truth.
Okay, take care.